and welcome back to Tuesdays with Tuesday. I'm Tuesday, and I write fantasy fiction under the name Mary E. Twomey. Today we're going to be reading Chapter 38 of Taste, which is Book 1 in the Tearaway series. Tearaway is 9 books long, but I'm only going to read the first book to you. If you like this and you want to keep going, then all the books are out and ready for you to read. But today we're going to read Chapter 38 together. Chapter 38. Welcome to Bev's house. What felt like 10 minutes later, my eyes opened again, and it was already morning time. Ollie and Gabby would sleep in, but Danny was on task, rising early to start his day with the first shower. I said goodbye to my dreamy makeout buddy and kissed to the side of Mason's muzzle when he stirred. Go back to sleep, baby. I took the second shower while Danny dressed and started to make breakfast for himself and Mary Ann. Danny and I moved soundlessly around the kitchen, cracking eggs and shoving bread in the toaster. Neither of us preferred to speak in the morning, so we actually got along fairly well. We chewed in silence while he leafed through the paper and I read a medical journal that updated weekly on my Kindle. It was nice, actually. Danny and I got along just fine when we didn't need to risk talking and pissing the other one off. Mason moseyed in and laid on my feet, making me feel the perfect amount of cozy and relaxed. I was starting to come around on this whole pulling business. When 7 o'clock hit, Mary Ann, Danny, and I were fed, dressed, and ready to go, but Vaughn was still gone. Let's just go, I said. I'll shadow you today, learn instead of do. Vaughn can meet us when he wakes up. Danny was livid after checking his phone and finding a text from Vaughn there. Of course, this is how he treats the most prestigious job our kind can get. Of course, he flakes the first week in. He's saying something came up and we should start without him. He'll call when he can meet us. He put his hand on his forehead. Mason, you're up. You'll need to turn human for today, which means a shower and normal topsider clothing. We'll grab the stone first and then reap as many souls as we can. Mason scampered into the bedroom with one of the shopping bags he bought with Ezra, but returning with a wine. Do you know how to work the shower? I asked, bending down to kiss his cheek and give him a good scratch behind the ears. I trotted to the bathroom and turned on the faucet for him, testing the temperature. I closed the door behind me as I walked out of the bathroom, giving him the privacy to mutate back into a human, or Matriculan, or wizard, or whatever. Danny was still shoving his face with food when Mason emerged from the bathroom, fully human and fully clothed. I probably shouldn't have been bummed that my dog was gone. Mason wore a nice pair of dark blue jeans and a white polo shirt, his 7 long dreads pulled back in a leather lace to reveal his half-inch long caramel beard and piercing slate eyes. As Mason slid on his black steel-toed boots, I pulled up a mental list of everything I'd done to Wolf Mason that would be totally inappropriate now that he was a person. I'd ran my hands through his hair, spooned him, let him kiss my face, called him baby, kissed his neck, and stroked his belly. My face turned crimson on that last one. I snatched up my keys and all but ran toward the garage. Mason blocked me, his eyes gray. They were kind but firm. Now that I'm human again, I need to look at your hands. Come again? The scrapes on your hands. I need to dress the wounds you keep giving yourself. Make sure they'll heal properly. I'm fine. We should get going. Mason moved to the bathroom and held open the door, giving me a stern look that left no room for arguing. My shoulders slumped. Yeah, okay. But not here and not now. Ollie could wake up any second, and I don't want to explain you to him. I'll take the first aid kit with us, and you can take a look when we get where we're going. When the 4 of us got into my car, I left a large gap in the back seat between Mason and me that was hopefully big enough to hold all of my embarrassment. He'd seen Beto dump me. He'd hugged me in his wolfy way. I couldn't look at him. I was so ashamed. I directed Danny to Bev's trailer park, noting the familiar knot in my gut that twisted when we reached the entrance. Park in the guest lot. I'll walk from here. Is it far? Not too. Then show me which one is her house, and I'll drive us there. No. Danny looked at me in the rearview mirror, dropping Mary Ann's hand he'd been holding the whole time. No? What makes you think we'll just wing it with something as big as the lost Sagrado stone on the line? Prince Langham knows where your mom's house is. He followed you there before. I'll drive this car off a cliff before I let his dad get his slimy hands on the stone. We do this together, October. That's the only way of it. No. This is my mama's house. My stupid magic rock. My call. Danny turned around in his seat to face me. You think you can be stubborn? Wait until the heads of the nations get impatient. You don't want us in your childhood home? I think you don't want Prince Langham's bugs crawling all over it. I think you don't want to explain to King Caballo to the neighbors. I closed my eyes and leaned my head back in defeat. I hate you so much right now. I sighed through my anxiety, which was ping-ponging around inside of me. Fine, but you all stay outside. I'm serious. You pretty much moved into my house and I didn't get a say in it. You don't get to see where I grew up. You don't get to put your foot down about anything anymore. Danny held tight to his bossy personality, which was made worse by Vaughn's disappearing act. It was like because Vaughn went rogue, Danny expected we all would. Mary Ann placed her hand on Danny's. Danny, be nice. How would you feel if strangers invaded your space? This is her childhood home. It's sacred, probably full of happy memories she doesn't want tarnished with tearaway's drama. Mary Ann was sweet. Wrong, but sweet. It's not that. Thanks, though. The air was suddenly too thick to pull in a full breath. I could smell the garbage as I pointed Danny to the street I'd ridden my rusty bike down too many times to count. I scratched at the backs of my hands as my chest heaved. I'll just go in and grab it. I'm pretty sure I know which rock you're talking about. I shook my head when Mary Ann turned around in her seat to put her hand on my knee. Please don't come in with me. Please don't make me show you where I lived. Whoa, Danny, something big's coming off her, Mason said as he touched my back. You think? Danny's eyebrows were furrowed, making the square shape of his head look more like the monster of Frankenstein than usual. October, what's the problem? Why are you being like this? I'm freaking out! Mary Ann cannot come inside. She's used to the mansion and a servant, and this isn't... Oh, October, I don't care about any of that. Please don't think me a snob. I thought about all the sharp edges, the unsafe places to walk, the maggots, and the mold corrupting such a sweet and pure girl. It's not safe for her inside. You care about her safety? She stays here. Okay, now I'm worried. Danny gripped the steering wheel as he parked in the space outside of Bev's trailer. Do I need to phone for more duendes? Do we need more security or something? I shook my head as it hung low, my elbows resting on my knees as I tried to steady my breath. Please don't make me do this. Please, Danny. I've been a good soldier. Learning the ropes. Didn't I do a good job yesterday? You were incredible yesterday. Please, just give me this. Danny watched me scrape at my hands in utter confusion. If it's not safe for Mary Ann, I can take that into consideration. She can stay locked in the car while Mason and I go in with you. He held up his hands when I cast him what I'm sure was my most pitiful expression. Look, it's the best I can do. We need this rock, but we also need you in one piece. I cannot let you out of my sight until we're more caught up. We got a decent head start yesterday with all those extra souls. You're doing real good, kid. But I can't slack up on the job now. This is important. I was glad Bev wasn't home. I knew she would be answering phones at the real estate office, so at least there was one less issue to deal with. Danny and Mason got out of the car, but my feet were frozen to the floor. Mason walked around the car and cracked the door for me so he could kneel in the opening. His eyes were filled with compassion I didn't want to feel. Hey, what are we about to walk in on? You're making me nervous. He rubbed my forearms, and I felt that steady trickle of the tension starting to release. But it was like a pinprick on the bottom of a swimming pool. It barely made a dent in the angst that had me by the throat. "Please don't make me do this," I begged in a whisper. "This isn't me. I am not this place. I escaped Bev and her trailer. I got out. I don't want to show you how bad it all was. You don't understand that it's a sickness. You'll judge her and me, and I don't need that in my life." Mason's hands were firm but gentle as he pulled me out of the car, ignoring my noise of distress. My movements were stiff and hesitant, but his were fluid. He tapped his finger under my chin, so I had to look up into his compassionate and discerning eyes. "You're really that afraid? That's the thing about being pushed to the end of your rope." Mason's mouth drew to the side beneath his short beard as he looked me over. "Listen to me. I can tell when people are at the end of their rope. I've got a sixth sense about it. It's one of the things that made me a good ruler once upon a time." His finger under my chin pulled me closer, like a fish on a lure. My heart rate began to pick up speed as I let myself be drawn closer. His voice was low and steady, while I was aflutter. "You, my October, are not at the end of your rope. You've got miles of rope before someone like you is defeated." He thumbed my lower lip, and my eyelashes fluttered shut through the swoon that utterly confused me. He smelled like pine and patchouli, and very, very masculine. I could feel his breath on my nose. His voice lowered to a barely audible command between us. "And you can stop avoiding me. If you love me in my wolf form, you can do better than barely look at me when I'm a man. We're the same animal." He brought my face forward and kissed my cheek. My blood pounded around the spot his lips caressed. It was nothing like Vaughn's flirty remarks he doled out like party favors. Mason's lips on my cheek had intent that made me want to draw closer instead of pull back, which was an entirely new concept for me. "There's nothing in there that'll make me run away from my duty to you. So let's get on with it. I'm by your side." I gulped when his hand drifted from my chin down my side to wrap around my hips. It was boyfriendy, and I wasn't sure how I felt about that. I heard a low growl to my left and knew my favorite pit bull was watching from his yard. Sandy didn't much like strangers. "Okay, thanks." I extracted myself from the closeness and popped the trunk. I pulled out a pair of my hospital gloves from the box, offering some to the men. "You'll want them, trust me." I tucked my pants into my socks, wishing Sandy would come out from his yard to greet me with a quick moral support snuggle. He was watching from beside his house, his body half shrouded in shadow so he could growl and unnerve the newcomers. They each took a pair of hospital gloves while exchanging wary looks. "This is necessary?" Danny inquired, flummoxed. I didn't answer, but whirled on them before I took another step. "I want your word that you won't talk about what you see in here. I mean it. Not to Ezra especially." Danny wasn't in the mood to be bossed around. "You don't get to lay down any kind of rules." "I just did. Ezra finds out about this, and I stop reaping today. You two decide how many people in Tearaway get fed. I won't ruin the best thing that's ever happened to Bev." Mason held up his hands. "Okay, that's fine. We can keep what we see to ourselves." With my heart pounding, I moved forward to the house, unlocking the front door and saying a quick prayer that somehow the maggots had magically cleaned up the mess in my sleep. That brings us to the end of chapter 38. If you'd like to read ahead, you can get the ebook for free. As of the recording of this video, it's free. Or you can come back next week and let me read to you. Hopefully I see you next Tuesday for Tuesdays with Tuesday.